You were taught to admire confidence. You were told it was a virtue, a sign of maturity, a respectable trait that separates leaders from followers. But what no one told you is this: society only celebrates confidence as long as it remains harmless. The moment it stops being polite, the moment it stops asking for permission, the moment it stops fitting inside the emotional comfort of others, it becomes something else. It becomes arrogance. And arrogance terrifies people, not because it is wrong, but because it cannot be controlled. Confidence, as you learned it, was never about strength. It was about compliance. You were encouraged to be confident in the ways that benefit others. Confident enough to work, but not question. Confident enough to speak, but not confront. Confident enough to dream, but not disrupt. You were fed a diluted version of confidence, safe enough to be praised, weak enough to be dismissed. A confident man who stays within his assigned frame is tolerated. The one who steps beyond it becomes a threat. You've seen how the world reacts to men who don't flinch, who speak without softening their words, who refuse to apologize for existing. People call them arrogant, egotistical, dangerous, not because they are, but because their presence disrupts the hierarchy. Confidence without apology exposes the weakness in others. It forces them to confront their own self-doubt. That's why society tries to tame men like this. It is not morality, it is self-preservation. The unspoken rule you were raised to obey was simple: stay small. Not physically, but psychologically. Don't overshadow anyone. Don't intimidate anyone. Don't be so secure that others must question themselves. You were taught to trim parts of your personality to fit people who refused to grow. You lowered your voice, your standards, your posture, telling yourself it was decency. But what you were really doing was disarming yourself. Confidence that requires acceptance is not confidence, it's performance. The world applauds performance because it poses no danger. It puts the audience in command. They get to approve or reject you. But a man who is confident without the need to be liked can't be managed. He doesn't orbit emotions. He doesn't negotiate identity. He walks into a room and reality rearranges itself around him. People don't know how to behave around a man like that, so they label him arrogant. Arrogance is not the absence of humility. It is the absence of dependence. It is the point where a man realizes his value is not up for debate. Society doesn't fear arrogance because it's hostile. It fears arrogance because it's immune. You cannot manipulate a man who no longer needs validation. You cannot shame a man who does not fear isolation. You cannot bribe a man who knows he can walk away. This chapter exists to show you the first fracture in your conditioning. The version of confidence you admire isn't the version the world allows you to possess. You were taught to be confident enough to function, but never confident enough to disrupt. Every compliment you received for being well-mannered or humble or respectful was not praise, it was reinforcement. They weren't celebrating your strength, they were celebrating your containment. You're beginning to suspect that something is off, that the men who rise are not the ones who play nicely, but the ones who stop playing. Confidence makes you liked. Arrogance makes you inevitable. A confident man waits to be recognized. An arrogant man knows he already is. This is the lie about confidence. They sold you the entry-level version because they couldn't survive the real one. And now that you've seen the fracture, you can't unsee it. The question is no longer, how do I become confident? It is, Arrogance has been demonized for a reason, not because it is inherently destructive, but because it creates a man the world cannot extract anything from. A confident man participates in the system. An arrogant man stands outside of it. Confidence makes you functional. Arrogance makes you untouchable. And no social structure, family, workplace, culture, benefits from a man who cannot be influenced, manipulated, or guilted into obedience. To understand arrogance, you must first understand what it isn't. Arrogance is not loud. It is not performative. It is not insecurity masquerading as strength. That is ego. Arrogance is something quieter, heavier, colder. It is the moment confidence stops looking for witnesses. It is self-belief with no external reference. Confidence still cares about applause. Arrogance doesn't even hear it. You've been trained to fear this state. From childhood, you were told not to think too highly of yourself, not to act like you're better than others, not to be full of yourself. But these warnings were never about morality. They were about containment. A man who acknowledges his superiority, his potential, his non-negotiable standards becomes unpredictable. He is no longer compliant. He no longer plays the role assigned to him. He becomes a variable instead of a resource. Arrogance is simply confidence that has stopped asking for permission. It is the point where your identity no longer requires negotiation. You don't seek validation. You don't soften your presence. You don't dilute truth to make others comfortable. You stop thinking about how you are perceived and start thinking about who you are. That shift is terrifying to those who built their lives around your compliance. Humility, as it is often preached, is nothing more than psychological taxation. It is the expectation that you dim your abilities so others don't feel small. What they call humility is really self-erasure. What they call arrogance is refusal. They want you humble because a humble man remains manageable. He doesn't question his treatment. He doesn't test boundaries. He accepts less because he believes less. Arrogance begins the moment you realize you don't owe anyone access to your self-belief. You don't owe anyone comfort. You don't owe anyone the performance of inferiority. When you stop offering your identity for public evaluation, you become dangerous, not because you wish to dominate others, but because you refuse to be dominated. People don't fear the arrogant man because he thinks highly of himself. They fear him because he can walk away, because he cannot be bribed with praise, because he does not collapse when criticized, because he does not mold himself to expectations. His stability exposes their fragility. His presence reminds them that somewhere inside themselves they settled for less. Arrogance is armor, not against others, but against your old self. The version of you that needed approval, that feared disapproval, that mistook politeness for worthiness, that self dies the moment arrogance arrives. Arrogance protects you from slipping back into a life where you asked for what you already deserved. The world needs you humble because humble men sustain systems. They work without question. They tolerate disrespect. They become predictable, replaceable, and emotionally taxable. A man who does not beg, who does not explain,
who does not apologize for ambition, such a man is a threat to every hierarchy built on psychological obedience. Society praises confidence publicly, but punishes arrogance privately. Why? Because confidence inspires others, arrogance frees others, and free men cannot be controlled. This chapter exists to show you the truth. Arrogance is not excess confidence. It is escaped confidence. It is the evolution of self-belief past dependency, past negotiation, past permission. The confident man is admired. The arrogant man is untouchable. One plays the game well. The other walks off the board. Confidence fits inside the world. Arrogance forces the world to expand or break.
Power is not about strength. It is about insulation. A man becomes untouchable the moment nothing external can rearrange his internal state. Most men are not destroyed by force. They're destroyed by opinion, silence, rejection, and emotional turbulence. The world controls them through invisible levers, but an arrogant man has no levers left to pull. That is what makes him dangerous. The untouchable man does not react to insult, praise, or expectation. He is unmoved because his frame is internally sourced. His identity does not fluctuate based on who approves of him or who understands him. He does not ask for emotional permission. He does not perform his worth. He occupies it. Confidence wants to be seen. Arrogance does not care. And that indifference terrifies people because they cannot use desire against him. They cannot bait him with attention. They cannot destabilize him with silence. When a man needs nothing from others, the social economy loses its grip. People can't punish him with exclusion because he doesn't crave belonging. They can't bribe him with praise because he doesn't depend on validation. They can't insult him because he doesn't hinge identity on their perception. The foundation of untouchability is emotional independence. Most men outsource their emotional state. One compliment lifts them, one criticism destroys them. They shake in the presence of rejection, fearing social exile more than self-betrayal. This is why confidence fails. It still cares. Arrogance removes the emotional umbilical cord. A man stops asking, "Do they like me?" and starts asking, "Do I respect myself?" The answer to that question becomes the anchor. When self-regard is internal, nobody can grant it or take it. The world loses jurisdiction. People instinctively respect this frame. Humans are wired to sense hierarchy, not through titles or wealth, but through psychological posture. The man who cannot be provoked sits at the top. He has no emotional tells. He is unshaken by praise, immune to envy, silent in the face of accusation. He does not escalate. He does not justify. He does not compete. Competitors betray insecurity. The untouchable man does not compete. He selects. To others, this looks like arrogance. It feels like superiority. In truth, it is sovereignty. People obey what they cannot destabilize. They follow what stands unmoved. They defer to the man who does not flinch. Respect is not something he demands. It is something people surrender, because his self-possession exposes their dependency. Arrogance is not loudness. Loud men are terrified of being ignored. Untouchable men do not fear silence. Silence is their terrain. They do not fill space. They own it. They speak less because words are unnecessary when presence is enough. This is why arrogant men appear magnetic. They don't chase attention, they generate gravity.
Others orbit around them because certainty is a rare commodity. When a man refuses to be shaped by the environment shapes itself around him. People mirror the emotional tone of the most stable individual in the room. The arrogant man is unmoved, so everyone else becomes reactive. He becomes the reference point without trying. This creates obedience without force, compliance without command, influence without effort. The world treats him differently not because he believes he deserves more, but because he behaves like someone who cannot be denied. He doesn't ask to be taken seriously. He makes denial impossible. Here is the secret. Untouchability is not arrogance over others. It is arrogance over your former self, the weak, obedient version who thought approval was oxygen. The man who no longer needs applause walks through reality like a blade. Not hostile, not desperate, simply inevitable. Confidence wants to be seen. Arrogance does not care. Untouchability makes it irrelevant.
If confidence is attractive, arrogance is gravitational. People do not simply notice an arrogant man, they orbit him. They adjust themselves around him without realizing it. His presence alters dynamics. His absence creates vacuum. And his refusal to explain himself becomes a silent invitation to fascination. The world pretends to despise arrogant men, yet it cannot look away from them. Why? Because arrogance reveals what everyone secretly desires: effortless certainty. Arrogant men do not wait for permission. They move as if the world belongs to them, not because they believe they own it, but because they refuse to behave like they don't. This is the first dark benefit. People want what feels out of reach. The inaccessible becomes valuable. The selective becomes desirable. Arrogance creates scarcity, and scarcity creates status. Confidence says, "I know my worth." Arrogance says, "You can't afford it." That psychological gap is intoxicating. People are drawn to what they cannot decode. Arrogance creates a mystique, a quiet refusal to be understood, categorized, or claimed. When a man does not seek connection, those who desire him try harder. When he withholds attention, his silence becomes currency. When he rejects validation, others compete for his acknowledgement. This is not manipulation. It is unconscious economics. Humans chase what stands still. Arrogance also removes a burden most men never escape: the duty to comfort others. The arrogant man no longer trims his personality to fit fragile egos. He doesn't dilute his presence. He doesn't apologize for his standards. And without apology, he becomes unpredictable. People adjust to him, not out of respect, but out of instinct. They sense danger in his indifference. They sense freedom in his certainty. They sense a life unmediated by permission. Another benefit emerges: arrogant men rarely suffer betrayal. Betrayal requires access. Arrogance limits access. The arrogant man does not need a crowd. He is not fueled by applause, so he does not depend on the applause givers. Those who remain near him must earn space. The rest remove themselves, not because he pushes them away, but because they cannot stand the reflection he forces upon them. Arrogance functions as natural filtration. Here lies another truth. People project morality onto arrogance because it exposes their compliance. The arrogant man does not follow unwritten rules. He does not kneel to invisible hierarchies. His behavior reminds others of the shackles they still wear. They call him egotistical to avoid admitting they fear becoming irrelevant. They fear realizing they could always have been more, but chose not to be.
Arrogance demands responsibility. That is why weak men hate it. They do not want the burden of sovereignty. They want permission, applause, and instruction. Arrogance rejects all three. The arrogant man is author, actor, and audience of his own story. He rewrites the script others begged to be cast in. That independence is terrifying because it exposes dependency as a choice. Yet the most powerful benefit is not external, it is internal. The arrogant man no longer questions his place. He does not wonder if he belongs. He does not calculate his value through reflection. He lives without psychological negotiation. That is what makes him untouchable. His life is not easier. It is cleaner. It is sharper. It is his. Confidence inspires admiration. Arrogance creates hierarchy. Untouchability crowns the man without ceremony. People don't remember confidence. Confidence blends in. Confidence is agreeable. Confidence asks to be appreciated. Arrogance does not knock. It does not introduce itself. It arrives as if it was always there. And the world adjusts.
Arrogance is not free. Nothing powerful ever is. The moment a man stops negotiating his worth, the world stops pretending to welcome him. His presence becomes a mirror, and most people cannot tolerate what it reflects. They do not see him, they see what they are not. And the easiest way to avoid that truth is to distance themselves from the man who refuses to shrink. This is the first price. Arrogance isolates you. Not because you push people away, but because they cannot stand beside something they refuse to become. Mediocrity survives through numbers. Arrogance survives alone. When a man stops needing approval, he stops relating to those who crave it. Conversations become thinner. Relationships become conditional. Social circles fracture. It is not loneliness. It is elevation, and elevation has fewer seats. Weak men call it ego because they fear anything that cannot be controlled. They need you humble so they don't feel small. They need you apologetic so they don't have to confront their limitations. They need you predictable so their insecurities never shatter. When you refuse that role, they label you arrogant. But accusations are not descriptions, they are confessions. Every insult reveals where the speaker kneels. Women feel this differently. Arrogance disrupts what they were taught to expect. They were conditioned to believe men seek approval, chase attention, compete for validation. A man who doesn't chase breaks that script. He becomes a question without an answer. Desire without effort becomes unbearable tension. Attraction becomes involuntary, yet access remains earned, not granted. That scarcity turns admiration into hunger. But arrogance extracts another cost. Your world expands, but fewer can follow you. Most people anchor their identity in shared narratives, shared fears, shared doubts, shared compromises. The arrogant man stands outside those agreements. He refuses to participate in emotional poverty. That refusal is threatening. It means others must rise or retreat. Most retreat. Arrogance also removes excuses. Once you stop asking for permission, failure becomes your responsibility. You cannot hide behind circumstances, validation, or misunderstanding. You own your outcomes. You own your reality. That level of responsibility feels heavy to those who still blame the world for their inaction. But responsibility is the birthplace of power. A man who controls nothing inside himself controls nothing outside himself. There is yet another price: misinterpretation. Arrogance is not understood by those who have never met themselves. They confuse self-respect with hostility, boundaries with cruelty, certainty with narcissism. They hate the mirror because it shows them their reflection without filters. They project wounds onto the man who does not carry them. But what they call arrogance is not aggression. It is refusal. It is refusal to shrink, refusal to apologize for existing, refusal to let others dictate the perimeter of your identity. The price of refusing is exile from the emotionally dependent. That exile is not punishment, it is purification. Eventually, you discover the truth. Not everyone should have access to you. Your time is currency. Your attention is investment. Your presence is privilege. Giving these things freely was never generosity. It was self-betrayal. Arrogance corrects the imbalance. The danger of arrogance is not that it isolates you. The danger is that once you taste the clarity of self-possession, you will never tolerate anything less again. You won't sit at tables where respect is rationed. You won't explain yourself to the insecure. You won't dilute truth to remain digestible. You won't negotiate your worth with people who couldn't afford it in the first place. Arrogance costs you the world you outgrow, but it gives you a world that fits. The price is not loneliness. The price is the end of dependency. And that price is worth everything.
Most men spend their lives trying to be enough. Enough to be liked, enough to be chosen, enough to be forgiven. They bend their identity around the reactions of others, hoping approval will finally grant them peace. But peace built on permission is not peace. It is probation. And probation ends the moment you stop complying. The untouchable man is born when a man stops living as a respondent and starts living as the source. He no longer measures himself through external reflection. He no longer adapts to fit acceptance. Approval ceases to be a resource. Validation ceases to be a reward. He does not ask, "What do they think of me?" He asks, "What do I think of myself?" And that question ends the old life. This man is not confident. Confidence still responds to environment. Confidence still seeks witnesses. Confidence still wants to be seen. The untouchable man has moved beyond performance, beyond impression, beyond applause. He does not need to be noticed. He simply cannot be ignored. He does not chase opportunity. Opportunity bends toward him. He does not audition for belonging. Rooms reorganize around his presence. Power does not leak from his words. It bleeds through his stillness. He does not assert superiority. He embodies inevitability. That is the secret few understand. The untouchable man is not arrogant toward others. He is arrogant toward his former self. He refuses to return to a version of himself built on compromise and fear. His standards are no longer negotiable. His identity is no longer collateral. He would rather lose people than lose himself. That choice separates men who live from men who linger. This man is not loud. He does not dominate through volume or aggression. He dominates through indifference. Insults fail to penetrate because there is nothing inside him to wound. Praise fails to intoxicate because there is nothing inside him that craves confirmation. Emotional leverage, the mechanism that controls most men, dissolves against him like water against stone. His presence unsettles people, not because he threatens them, but because he reminds them of their own unclaimed sovereignty. His existence proves that freedom was never denied, it was abandoned. Those who reject responsibility call him arrogant. Those who fear self-respect call him dangerous. Those who recognize him call him necessary. The untouchable man moves differently. He does not justify decisions. He does not explain boundaries. He does not apologize for standards. Every decision he makes is a declaration of self, silent, permanent, non-negotiable. He does not wonder whether he deserves more. He assumes it without ceremony. And here lies the paradox. The world gives the most to the man who needs nothing from it. Women chase him. Men imitate him. Institutions yield to him. Reality rearranges around him. He is not in competition, because competition requires comparison. Comparison requires insecurity. He is past all of that. He exists in a state without friction and identity without permission. This chapter is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to the man you stopped being, the one who did not need acceptance to exist, the one who did not trade identity for approval, the one who understood instinctively that worth is not assigned, it is embodied. A man becomes untouchable the moment he realizes something profound. You cannot destroy what does not depend on you. Your insults cannot wound him. Your praise cannot feed him. Your rejection cannot reduce him. He is no longer waiting to be chosen. He is choosing himself. Confidence makes a man visible. Arrogance makes him inevitable. Untouchability makes him sovereign. The world no longer tests him. It adjusts around him.